What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the TSS Pod. This is episode 5 of the podcast, and we got a special guest, a good friend of me and Davion here. Got Blake Lehew, one of my favorite lifters. There's a lot of fun facts with this guy, but we're gonna get into that in a little bit. Davion is actually, you'll be surprised, Davion's not here. He's feeling a little under the weather. His throat's a little scratchy, so he's kind of manning these cameras, which is such a big help because, as you can see, we're at Primal. We're at our good friend's gym at Primal. We're taking the show on the road, which adds a few different variables. So really grateful for Davion's help back there. And let's get right into it. Blake, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm so stoked to just be here. I think people don't realize that, regardless, we're two different facilities. We have some sense of communication or even a background in a relationship, kind of thing.
I mean, it is one community. It really is.
Yeah, we all kind of know each other in some degree, and we look forward to exploring that with other facilities as well. But before we get into the show, this show is sponsored by absolutely no one. So you can hit my email. We got a lot of great guests coming, and just bringing a new flavor of podcasting to the space. And we're really stoked about it, to be able to showcase athletes, business owners. You actually wear a lot of different hats.
I do.
So let's get right and talk about that. This is the third year of
going on our third year. We've been about 2.5 years now.
Okay. Yeah, which is great to see the progression. When I was grateful enough to be able to come over here for the grand opening day, which I'll probably run some photos in the background on that. Tell me, what has been one of the more biggest surprises in this process of being a gym owner and also an athlete on top of that?
Oh, biggest surprises. Well, one of the things that's really surprised me, I've talked about it a couple times, is we've become kind of a destination gym.
Yeah.
We get a lot of day passes every month for people that just want to come check out the gym, check out the equipment, say hello to me. I don't think I'm special or anything.
No, you are. You're really, yeah, you're one of the more special lifters in existence.
Well, I appreciate that. But yeah, no, it's really surprised me how often people just come in to say hello, check out the equipment. Drive a couple hours. We even have people. We had some people come down for our powerlifting meets from Maryland.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so people fly out to our powerlifting meet just to come here and experience what we have to offer. So that's been probably the biggest surprise. And it's been really cool meeting people from all over the country just by opening a gym here in San Antonio.
Cultivating it and nurturing it.
Yeah.
When you were, let's say, take it back to lifting at A&M as a collegiate lifter, looking forward, and I guess that's what? I'm not gonna say I'm not bold enough to say 10 years ago, but 7 years.
I was about 10 years ago. Yeah.
Right. We're not keeping tabs, but what's it called? Back then, was that an initial goal? You just had this vision of pursuing powerlifting the way you have, and then also having this facility to nurture the next round of powerlifters as well.
Yeah, I mean, opening a gym has been something that's been on my mind since I was in high school, actually. I've known I wanted to be a coach, and I've known that I wanted to open a gym and create a supportive and thriving community.
Yeah.
So,
and how's that been in the past 2.5 years? Obviously there's going to be variables within anything we do,
Sure.
Are you pretty stoked with how it's been and where it's going, kind of thing? And
yeah, I mean, it's had its ebbs and flows, but that's just life. That's business. It is what it is. I've had to learn a lot along the way, but that's also something I'm really grateful for doing this. Is it's forced me to learn. It's forced me to grow in ways that I never would have imagined myself doing up until this point.
Yeah.
So it's really cool how much I've grown as a man and as a person just by opening my own business.
Yeah, I agree. And I always tell people, with this kind of journey, there's a lot of things school's important and everything like that, but there's a lot of things that they don't teach you that you have to basically experience firsthand, in a sense. So
yeah. I mean, we talk about that all the time. It's like mom and dad can tell you the burner's hot, but like until you experience it for yourself, like you just want to touch it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, let me find out how hot it is actually. No, that's awesome. So, yeah, let's when did you let's get into lifting. I mean, that's like a big, there's a massive timeline to discuss. I think in a sense of context, I'm even saying that a lot of these podcasts, if you've been watching, I basically investigate all of our guests, and if you just YouTube or even Google Blake's name and put powerlifting on the end of it, it's such an incredible journey from like high school to like now, kind of thing. So I guess let's start there from like high school. Did your passion for the sport start there, or was there a prior kind of thing? What got you into powerlifting?
Well, I played football for 9 years.
Okay.
Being in Texas, like it's football or nothing at some point in time. And my freshman year, actually my 8th grade year, a friend of mine in high school said, "Hey, you should join the powerlifting team." What's that? He was like, "It's a sport where you literally just compete by lifting weights." I'm like, "That's a thing?"
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm 5'5", 140 pounds. Like, by the time freshman year rolls around, I'm exactly still 5'5", 140 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Realize football is not going to be the way to go for me.
Texas, yeah.
Yeah. So, started powerlifting, immediately fell in love with it. I think I got first or second in my weight class, my first powerlifting meet. Probably had the biggest bench press there.
That's a bit.
Little known fact, I started off as a bench presser, not a deadlifter.
Really? Bench press orangutan. Right?
Yeah.
That's funny.
But yeah, that's kind of how it all got started for me. Once I realized it was a sport and I could be competitive at it, it was game over from there.
Was there any coaches that recognized because not like I'll say this freely, but like your gifts, in a sense, with weight on, like, to see what your body is capable of. You're obviously gifted under a high like stress load, in a sense. Was there anyone identifying that at an early age, or was this like, hey, like, keep at this kind of thing, or it was just like, let's see where this goes?
There weren't really any coaches in particular growing up that showed a whole lot of interest in me. I just kind of did it all on my own. And then by my senior year, we had a complete turnover in coaching staff. And I'm not in athletics. I'm not anything. I'm just lifting after school, competing in the spring. And the football coaches seeing me go to the field house are like, "Why don't I know you? And why are you on my football team?"
Yeah. Yeah, dude, I can only imagine, right? It's like a basketball coach seeing that 6'6" kid in the lunch line, and it's just like, "Yo, why have you never came out here?" And he's playing Dungeons and Dragons kind of thing. I'm just joking. Little inside joke kind of thing. Not even a joke, but see, I get a little nervous without my partner in crime, Davion. Like usually it's easier for us to like tag team questions, but I think I'm doing a solid job right now.
You're doing great.
Okay, so why A&M?
It's actually really funny. I don't actually know. Like, I don't know where that started.
Yeah.
I mean, I fell in love with the culture, the campus, everything right off the bat. First college campus tour was like, this is where I want to go. But I was the first generation Aggie in my family. Honestly, not a whole lot of people in my family actually have college degrees.
Interesting.
So, my parents would just watch Aggie football from time to time, and it just kind of stuck.
Yeah.
It's I've thought about that a couple times, like, why A&M?
Yeah.
Why was that the one that resonated with me so much? And I genuinely don't know where it started.
Interesting. I mean, in a sense of rewinding, where did you go to high school?
Went to May Pearl High School.
May Pearl High School.
It is in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think to this day it's a little outdated, but the population sign still says 996.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Dang. So under 1,000, people in small towns. So okay, I can see how that like translated, and everything like that. So you're an Aggie powerlifter. What do you feel was like how do you feel the culture changed from your first year as an Aggie powerlifter to your senior year as a lifter?
I mean, so much happened. Yeah, that's opening a whole can of worms. So much happened from my first to final year there. You know, first year going in, I thought I was hot stuff. You know, one state my senior year. There were actually 3 other men on the team that also had one state their senior year in high school. And I came in, thought I was hot stuff, and quickly realized that it was a whole new ballgame.
Yeah.
It's a whole new level of competition. Thought I was just going to show up to collegiate nationals and claim second place as a freshman. And I bombed.
Really?
Yep. I got carried away, drinking, partying, gained a bunch of weight. Thought I could cut 10 or 11 pounds for a 2-hour weigh-in meet and compete well.
Yeah.
And my bench shirt didn't fit. So when my bench shirt didn't fit, I just got stapled 3 consecutive times.
Damn.
And
that's so heartbreaking.
Yeah. And so that really lit a fire under my ass. I got my stuff together. Trained really hard that summer. That was actually the summer I switched to sumo. Put 100 pounds on my deadlift in 3 months. Lost 10 pounds while doing it, and then came at it the next year, and then won collegiate nationals the next 3 years. So I came from, you know, being kind of at the bottom of the totem pole on the team to the vice president my senior year, and then decided to stay on and coach the next 2 years.
Okay.
So it was quite an interesting progression.
Yeah, and once would you say, like, what was your highlight of collegiate powerlifting?
Highlight of collegiate powerlifting. Oh, that's a hard one, because there's so many things that happened. Maybe not necessarily like during the school year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, qualifying for Worlds was, competing and winning at Worlds, you know, was probably the most notable. I was able to do that a couple times. Actually, my first year, I went to Bench Worlds.
Okay.
And then went to Full Power Junior Worlds a couple months later.
Wow.
So it was really funny, because I came in nominated at like 9th place at Bench Worlds, because my nomination bench was like 200 kilos, like 440.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I said, this came right after a summer where I really got it together and trained really hard, put like 50 pounds on my bench.
Super dialed in.
And so I came in and I opened with, I think my opener at that meet was like 450.
Damn.
And then after that, the coaches were like, okay, like, what was your best bench in training? You know, like, where should we go from there? And I was like, well, I just surpassed my best competition bench. So whatever you think is necessary.
The sky's the limit.
I mean, they weren't thrilled with that when they found out I just opened with a comp PR.
Yeah.
But it turned out all right. Came in clutch for a silver medal. So that was a really good time in my life and powerlifting career.
Yeah.
It really stands out.
How many times were you able to go to that world stage? IPF World.
So Bench Worlds once. I believe I did Equipped Worlds 3 times.
Wow.
2 or 3 times. And then I did Raw Worlds 3 times.
Okay.
All as a junior, of course.
Yeah.
I actually qualified for Open on 2 separate occasions. And the final one, I was just burnt out.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of things that happened. This was like 2018, I think. Bombed at Junior Worlds. They were moving really fast. It was a different elevation. I spent 24 hours on a plane.
Yeah.
We finished an equipped meet in about 2.5 hours.
That's not possible.
I know. And I'm like, I'm really used to fast meets. It wasn't a big deal, but I just was sucking wind. Yeah. Thought I was in shape and just couldn't keep up, and it just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
So I pulled out of Opens, and then after that, I think it was the longest I went without competing, probably about 10 or 11 months.
Okay.
And then, you know, started. Actually, I think I did the pro deadlift after that at the Arnold.
Okay.
And then took another 6 or 7 months off, and then switched to, I guess, the untested side of things, and and been doing that ever since.
Was there any was there anything you were doing as an athlete to like step back in those times of like breaks, and like any adjustments that you were trying to like fine tune or anything like that?
Honestly, I was just trying to take care of myself mentally.
Yeah.
I've been doing 4 to 5 meets a year every year since I started competing.
Yeah.
And while I do still really enjoy doing that, there were just a lot of things going on in my life. I mean, I had just gotten engaged. Shelby was about to graduate from college. We were about to move to San Antonio. So it was just a good opportunity to take a step back, focus on all the other big things happening in my life.
Yeah.
And setting myself up for success moving forward.
Right. I mean, right now we're going into a stage of freestyle questions, right? But why San Antonio?
There were actually a couple of reasons that led me and Shelby both here. Shelby originally wanted to go to physical therapy school.
Okay.
So she was going to go to the UT Health Science Center here.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was offered, I was basically just told that I'd be allowed to train clients out of heavy metal whenever I moved down here. Like there was a spot waiting for me if I ever wanted to come down. So I'm like, all right, I've got job security. Mm-hmm. Shelby's going to, go to school and we'll just figure it out from there.
Yeah.
And man, how things have
time, right?
Yeah. I mean, this was 5 years ago.
Yeah. Right.
And here I am, going on my 3rd year of owning my own business.
Yeah.
And Shelby didn't even go to PT school.
Yeah.
And she's still, helping people the best she can.
Yeah.
So it's
one of those things where I tell people it's like, you can have a idea or a plan and that's ideal, right? Like you want to do that, right? Have a reason to make some kind of like attempt or things like that. But sometimes when you're working hard or chasing a dream every single day, that could morph or shape into something different that also complements your long-term goals that you weren't even like thinking of. Not that I'm saying you weren't thinking of owning a business and all that, but it might have been fast-tracked in a sense of like, hey, this is possible right now, and this is all like due to, my dedication to just working hard and owning every single day, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm opening a gym was my like 40-year plan, right?
Yeah.
Like that was not something I anticipated to do in my mid-20s.
Mm-hmm.
Like by no means did I anticipate that happening. But one thing after another. I mean, we actually ended up making money because of COVID. That was a long, that's a long story. But yeah, we actually ended up saving a good amount of money because of that. And it just seemed like it was the time to open a business.
Did you just compete recently or?
I did recently compete.
I only heard. I was just like, wait, Blake?
No, it was.
I have no context or information on it. I just heard.
I haven't really talked a whole lot about it. It was quite an interesting day.
Yeah.
Meet preps had been pretty subpar. Just getting busier and busier every year, every month. Mm-hmm. We're getting busier and busier. There's more and more on my plate, trying to figure out how to balance everything going on in life and, show up, manage expectations, made some pretty safe calls at the meet. And this venue was probably about 2,200 to 2,500 square foot in total.
Oh, okay. Now, not as
about half the size of the room we're in right now.
Yeah, not
maybe less.
Yeah.
No, and so there was just a layer of chalk, dust, everything on everything in the gym.
Yeah.
On the benches, on the floor, warming up was a chore.
Yeah.
I couldn't even get situated on the bench because there was just a film, and I'm slipping all over.
No.
And I go out and I try and hit my deadlift opener, and my left foot just slips.
Oh no.
I like tweak my left glute.
Yeah.
And I look at the judges and I'm like, all I can do is laugh at this point.
Yeah.
I train in a dusty gym. There's chalk all over my platform.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty used to that.
Yeah.
But 3 attempts, literally my feet slipping all 3 times. Like there was just nothing I could do. So I ended up bombing on deadlift, and like I'm
to injury. Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah.
And I ended up tearing my thumb in the first time in 4 years as well, trying to do all of this. Yeah. So it just kind of seemed like It just wasn't supposed to be my day.
Yeah. I mean, you're an elite lifter, and it seems like, that level of it, of your experience and everything like that. It's just like, hey, you're coming from a place where you're like, hey, I'm here. I want to like be able to be in a position to showcase my work at the highest level, kind of thing. So I could see how that could be like really, like non-ideal,
Yeah, but at the end of the day, something I've had to tell myself is like I don't do these competitions for anybody else but myself. I don't do them for the money. I don't do them for the glory. I do them because I enjoy competing. And even if I bomb, people might give me a hard time about it, but like as crazy of a day as it was, I had a great time. I had a blast. I cut up with people. I was laughing on the platform, like. Because at a certain point in time, that's all you can do.
Yeah. Once you realize it's out the door, you're like, all right, cool.
I mean, honestly, walking into weigh-ins, looking at the size of the venue, that's it. I just laughed. And I looked at Shelby and I was like, if I bomb, I'm not even going to feel bad because, like...
it just is what it is.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, it was a great gym. The meet ran, fairly well. Like, it wasn't anything like that. Like, I'm not upset about any of it.
Yeah.
There's just, even after 62 competitions, I'm still learning that there are variables that you will never be able to control.
Yeah.
I'd figure at some point in time I would be done learning new things on meet day, but
it's always going to provide something. Yeah. You're just like, even setting this up, I'm like, we do this so often. Setting it up, I was running behind. I told Blake, I was just like, yo, something's up as usual, and that's kind of like, that's where experience comes in. You've already, even as a coach, like you'll be able to better guide your athletes, just with this long list of experiences that you've had to endure, in your time lifting, on every platform almost.
Yeah, I mean, you can read all you want, you can watch YouTube videos, you can educate yourself as much as you want, but until you experience all of these things for yourself, like, you're not going to have a true understanding until you just do it and be a part of it routinely.
Okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense. No, you said how many meets? 65?
62.
Okay.
60 full power, 1 deadlift only, 1 bench only.
Okay. So in those that's a lot. Just like thinking about it, 62 meets. In those 62 meets, what would you say was like the meet that you could look back on and was just like, oh, that was my perfect day? Or do you feel like you've hit that perfect day?
I mean, the best meet of my career up until this point was probably the hybrid in 20... What year was that? 2012? Yeah, 2022 is right before we opened the gym.
Yeah.
That's right. It was. I had training honestly wasn't going great. I had an injured knee, but I was so close to the meet. I'd trained for like 6 weeks, only squatted like 3 of those 6 weeks. And I'm like, we're just going to manage expectations, I'm healthy enough to compete, but maybe not healthy enough to accomplish everything I want. And ended up having an 8 for 9 day, near perfect.
That's insane.
3 for 3 on squat. Hit my first 500-pound bench. Hit my first 800-pound competition deadlift, which was 843, I might add. That was the first time I'd hit over 800 in comp.
Damn.
And then hit my first 2K total, breaking John Hack's total record.
Yeah.
And that 8 for 9 was me missing my opener pull.
Really?
Yes.
What happened on the opener pull?
I don't even know.
Really?
A lot of times whenever I'm, just really hype, it's the end of the day, like I'm ready to deadlift. I know it's my strong suit.
Yeah.
I just end up with a little bit more explosiveness than what I normally have in training, and I lose my balance all the time. Because I'm just not prepared for how fast it's going to move on meet day. No matter how hard you try, you can't recreate meet day stimulus situations.
Yeah.
It's just different every time.
Yeah.
So bobbled it, got it just fine on my second, and then proceeded to make a 40-kilo jump from that second to third to round out everything that I wanted for the day, and got it.
Damn. That's insane. Just like even like the lack of frequency of squatting and going 3 for 3. Was that due to any kind of like pre-existing kind of things you were watching over or anything like that, or was that just the cards that were dealt?
I mean, I've had intermittent knee issues literally my entire life.
Interesting.
Ever since I started lifting, I had a condition called Osgood-Schlatter's, where the growth plates effectively start to close early because of severe inflammation, puts pressure on the growth plates and causes them to close. Okay. So now I have like these lumps on the front of my knees that are essentially calcification.
Interesting.
From everything that happened whenever I was a child. So it quite literally stunted my growth, which is why I have a pretty ridiculous wingspan.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. If you see this guy, like his arm just goes on for days, and it doesn't like you look at it, you're like, oh, okay, I can see why he's called Deadlift Orangutan.
Yeah, I thought it was appropriate.
Yeah, no, that's a great handle. You know, just like username pending. You know, what's it called? What's up, David? Oh yeah, yeah, your goals. I mean, I know. I mean, I guess right. Yeah, it's like there's a lot of things I already know about Blake, but I forget that the people watching it probably don't know. You know, in a sense, like goals. You know, you have some like mountains. You know, I think. Well, I don't want to spill the beans, but one of them that I've always like am like following you for, in a sense, is like being having the what is it holding the number one spot in three different federations, or what was it what's your goals, I guess, right, like within a lifter there's one. Yeah,
okay, I know you're getting. Yeah, one of my goals was to have the all-time world record total raw, wrapped, and single ply.
That's what it was. Yeah, in the same weight class, raw, wrapped, and single ply, having the all-time world record. That's just like insane, you know, kind of thing. Is that something that's like? I mean, I picked that up in like a prior piece of content or whatever. Is that still something that's like on your?
You know, honestly, that one. Not that I mean, one day I'd really like to get back into single ply. Like, I feel like lately the bugs kind of bit me. I've actually got a set of single ply suits that fit me now that I could throw on at any time.
Yeah.
I've just been really focused on accomplishing some of my raw goals first. And as I've been focusing on those, I've gained a little bit of weight. So being able to do that as a 181, probably not going to happen. And while I do think it's very possible before the end of my career that I could beat John Hack and potentially take his total, it's going to be sometime.
Yeah.
So that specific goal probably going to be on the back burner for a little while until I can do everything, get up to that level as a 198.
Yeah, gotcha.
Because I've only got maybe 1 or 2 meets left in me at 181.
Really?
Yeah.
Just the way your body is transforming through time.
Yeah, it's getting harder and harder to cut. I'm getting leaner and leaner and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
It's this meet that I bombed at actually was supposed to be, in my mind, my my last meet as a 181, and I was gonna commit to being a 198 after that.
Okay.
But I wanted to take the all-time world record total back at 181 before I left.
Yeah.
So now I'm kind of conflicted on how I want to go about that. If it's me trying to come back down. But I do have a meet in 6 weeks, so we'll find out.
Fast turnaround.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm used to doing.
Yeah, 4 to 5, yeah.
And that's actually whenever I end up performing my best. It might not be if I have 3 meets all 8 weeks apart, like, might not do the best at that first meet, but the second or third, like, it's gonna turn up.
Okay. When's the last time you had like a quote unquote off season? Do you have off season, or you're all?
I mean, I've taken the longest off of competing that I have since I quit lifting in single ply recently.
Really?
So I competed at the American Pro in November, and I didn't compete again until 3-4 weeks ago.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So 7 months off is the longest I've taken off of competing in 4 years.
Much needed break or a strategic break?
It was strategic. I was actually planning on competing in April, but the knee issues flared up again. And it wasn't just one, it was both.
Okay.
So, again, while I had the mentality of just manage expectations, maybe I'll have to sandbag squat, but bench and deadlift are going to be just fine.
Yeah.
You know, And 4 weeks out, I dislocated my patella on my good knee.
Damn.
And I was like, all right, that's the sign. I'm not competing in April.
Yeah.
To kick that can down the
Was
road.
that the Pioneer one? Or?
No, that was the Ghost Clash.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. So, I mean, I still went, handled a friend of mine, enjoyed the day. Still not as fun being at a meet and not competing.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Got to take care of myself.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a bunch of questions I have, and I'm trying to like put one in front of the other, right? So you're also a coach, kind of thing. And how big is your roster right now of like in coaching?
I've probably got 10 or so athletes.
Nice. Do you? Yeah, I know you. It should be left unsaid that how much you love this sport. How much are you enjoying, coaching and that aspect of it?
I love working with people and watching them grow.
Yeah.
Watching others grow and succeed has been one of the most fulfilling things of my entire career. And it's honest. It ends up being more enjoyable working with like high school athletes because they're always growing. They're always like, as long as they're not hurt, as long as you're maintaining like their health, like and training them in a sustainable way, like they're gonna always see progress.
Yeah.
Once you start getting a little older, even in your mid to late 20s, it's not so consistent anymore.
Not the same. I tell people it's like where I work at TSS, like our demographic's super young, right? So their mindset is like we're gonna be this young and spry, until we're Shy's age. And I'm just like, oh, buddy, you got a rude awakening coming, and it's not going to be fun,
I'm not even 30 yet, and I'm feeling it, man.
I did. And the thing is, like, grease on the gear theory, right? Like, it's like, okay, I have it in my head, obviously I have a different background, but like, I think staying active and muscle is like my main thing right now, right? Like, strength is one of those things. If you don't use it, you lose it kind of thing. So it's like, why I believe like muscle is more valuable than any kind of weight loss, even though weight loss is extremely important, I think muscle foundation is like just as important, if not, greater.
Absolutely. One of the things we like to tell people is muscle is the organ of longevity.
Yeah, dude, straight up. Yeah.
So like you can be a little overweight. If you've got some muscle, like you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
And you're going to be able to live your life more or less the way you want to live your life for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and that's kind of like my mindset when it comes to like, training and all that, sure. Do I want to like lift record myself with endless amount of plates on the bar and moving it like nothing? Absolutely. Everyone and their mom wants that, but like I've had to tell myself that there's a ceiling, you're not as young anymore, but I could talk about that all day. But switching back to you, you as an equipped powerlifter to raw, right? That's something that like I know you're passionate about just as much, as being a raw lifter. And I know there's somewhere in the future, where that's going to be something, you come back to, and you briefly talked about it earlier within the podcast. Talk to me a little bit more about like what's going to be the deciding factor to really like, get back into it and be like, I'm going to commit to this meet and compete in like, single ply.
That's probably going to come down to how long it takes me to achieve the goals that I want to raw.
Sure.
It's the timing of competitions.
Sure.
I I don't want to go to a meet trying to squat 900 pounds single ply, bench 700 pounds single ply, and the venue is 2,500 square feet.
Yeah.
And the spotters like aren't comfortable spotting that kind of weight.
Yeah.
So it's like there's got to be an opportunity, a big stage, maybe even like WPO one day.
Yeah.
Just just the things I've been thinking of how to implement.
Yeah.
So and I've been working with high school athletes. Texas High School Powerlifting is only equipped So, working with athletes in equipment and seeing it more and more and more, and the bug's kind of starting to bite again. I'm like, I really want to. I just don't know at what point I'm going to be willing to, maybe take a year off of competing raw or classic raw and committing to relearning how to use the equipment, but also adapting to the loads that I'm going to be able to handle. Because I've already surpassed raw all of my former equipment by a significant margin.
That's why I'm excited. I'm like, yo, what's it gonna take? I'm a front row seats for that.
No, I'm really excited about the idea of it. I'll probably be benching as much as I was squatting 10 years ago.
Fun fact, by the way, Texas High School Powerlifting now has a raw female. Now they have raw female, right?
Okay.
Raw female? Yeah. No male, right?
No, there's a raw division.
For male too?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now that's which also kind of like what, because I have very limited association and all that background, yada yada yada. But it also kind of broke my heart too a little bit when they told me that, because I was just like, no, like that's their thing. Like we didn't keep them at equipped, and then like they could grow, keep doing equipped. So yeah.
I mean, and the Texas High School Powerlifting Association either is or either was or still is the largest powerlifting organization in the country and the world.
Yeah. How do you feel the climate is of the sport within the state of Texas, and how is it growing? Or how can we make it grow even more?
I mean, I would say just make sure everybody's happy at the actual competitions. Like
having a good experience.
Yeah, it really is. It's not about we've learned it's really not about giving cash prizes or even having high profile lifters, but just I think us having the mindset of treat everybody here, treat this meet as if it's a pro meet, and give everybody that courtesy. Has gone a really, really long way, because while there's been, we ran a meet earlier this year with 13 lifters in it. But then I had another meet this year that had 63 registrations. It was technically over 40. So like for us, sure, everything ebbs and flows, but we've been growing.
Yeah.
So, while I have seen the statistics that in general participation in powerlifting has been going down, it's cyclical, one.
Yeah.
But two, we've had a lot of drug tested competitors at our meets, that maybe the last time they did a meet, it was THSPA or USAPL or Powerlifting America. And they have such a good time at our events that, they still do USAPL meets, but they'll add more of our meets into their
rotation.
Into the rotation. Yeah. They just have such a good time.
Yeah.
And something I mentioned earlier, while you might want to be competitive, you might want to win money, at the end of the day, if you don't enjoy yourself, if you don't have fun, what's the point?
Yeah. There's one thing maintaining that elite platform, but it's another thing to provide an incredible experience.
Yes. Well, and then at the end of the day, it is also a business.
Yeah.
So as a business owner,
margin things.
Yeah. Well, we are providing a service. We might charge a little bit more, but we're going to make sure you get like the best bang for your buck. We're not going to be stingy with the experience.
Yeah.
I want you to have everything that I would expect out of for myself.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a great perspective, for the position you're holding in the federation. Y'all are growing. Yeah, I think that's kind of what sets things apart, in that sense. And one of the last things, like I said, I could talk to you for a long ass time. Whereas the last episode we had Michael Davis, and I was like Davion's, kind of thing where you could talk to him forever. But one thing, like in a sense of like meeting you guys and then fast forwarding to now, that gets me excited is Primal snacks too, in a sense. And would you talk about Primal snacks a little bit? How did y'all get into it? And where y'all at with the project kind of thing?
Again, business ebbs and flows. We'll have a surge of people buying, and then it'll stop for a little bit. But essentially, with Primal snacks, we've tried to cut out all the junk from our diet, and started to realize that there's not a lot of high protein, good quality snacks for athletes that don't have more than or less than 10 ingredients. Absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And so we came up with Primal snacks, protein bars, and then like a high protein granola that is actually beef based. But just about everybody I tell that there's beef in the product, whenever I have a blind taste test, calls BS. They're like, this is not beef. There's no way this is beef.
Which is why I get excited about it, because they're like, you taste it, it tastes delicious, and you're like, yeah, there's meat in there. You're like, nah, fake news, like there's no way, and it gets me really excited that your brain, both of y'all, you and Shelby, y'all are thinking and y'all are like trying to, whatever you're trying to do business wise, it's always to provide something better for the consumer, and I think that's like something that can get lost in a sense of like business and realms and things like that. But thank you so much, Blake, for everything, your time. If you're in San Antonio, please come out to Primal, guys. Like, this is a great facility, way cooler here temperature wise, and you're gonna find in the trenches, as I like to call it, being TSS SATX, has everything. Blake has curated everything you guys will need to become the best versions of yourself on the platform. So want you guys to come over here and check it out whenever y'all can. And thank you so much, Blake.
Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it, man. That one went out?
That one went out.
Okay. That's okay. That was good, right? So, I was like, I should have asked you some of those like